everybody, and welcome back to Crochet College. In this video, I will be showing you how to create these beautiful circular coasters. I will also be showing you how I always connect the tag to really upsell these at my events. To make this project today, I'm using the following supplies. I have one of my favorite yarns here. It's a superwash merino wool in this beautiful teal or turquoise blue. I will be using a 3mm crochet hook. I always have a pair of scissors and a yarn needle handy to weave in my ends. And then lastly, I have this beautiful coasters tag with a little bit of tape. I like to tape this tag together just to make sure that it's nice and solid all the way around. So as you can see by my finished one here, it's nice and secured by that piece of tape in the back. These tags are available on Etsy. I have a link for them in the description box down below. They come as coasters, 100% handmade, and as a sheet of mug rugs, 100% handmade. To create this project today, I will be beginning with a magic ring. Once I've created the magic ring, I will put my hook through that loop and pull it a little tight around the hook. Now to create my coasters, I really just create a flat circle using single crochets. So if you already know how to do that, you're very close to creating this same design. I only do a few things different to really refine the edges at the end, as well as the fact that I will work this up as if it is a spiral instead of stopping and starting each row individually. The other thing that I tend to do differently than a lot of patterns is I do not like to use stitch markers. If using stitch markers is your jam, that's fine, go for it. But for me, I will just be counting. To begin this project, I will first insert my hook into that magic ring and chain 1. And now I will work a total of 6 single crochets right into that magic ring. My first round will only have 6 single crochets total. I'll pull that magic ring mostly tight, but not quite all the way yet. To begin round 2, I will insert my hook into the top of that first stitch from round 1 and work 2 single crochets. This is an increase. I will now repeat this increase by working 1 increase into each of the next 5 stitches. So 2 single crochets into each of the stitches from the previous round. Once I've worked 2 single crochets into each of the stitches from round 1, that will complete round 2. After I complete round 2, I will pull that magic ring nice and tight. If that little tail at the back is bothering you, you could cut it off, but I like to save that for the end. To begin round 3, I will be working 1 increase into the first stitch, followed by a single crochet worked into the next stitch. I will repeat that sequence 5 more times. So I will work 2 single crochets, followed by 1 single crochet, and I'll just keep repeating that until I complete a total of 18 stitches. Once I've done that, that sequence of an increase followed by a regular single crochet, or 2 single crochets followed by 1 single crochet, a total of 6 times, and worked my way all the way around, totaling in 18 single crochets for round 3, I'm ready to begin round 4. For round 4, what I will do is simply begin with an increase. I will work 2 single crochets into that first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into the top of the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to repeat that increase, followed by a single crochet and a single crochet, or 2 single crochets followed by 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, a total of 5 more times. This round should have a total of 24 stitches. Once I've completed round 4, I'm ready to begin round 5. For round 5, I will be working the sequence of 2 single crochets worked into the first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 3 stitches. I will continue this pattern of 2 single crochets worked into 1 stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into the next 3 stitches all the way around. Round 5 will have a total of 30 single crochets. Once I've worked all the way around for round 5, I'm ready to begin round 6. Round 6 will begin with 2 single crochets worked into the first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 4 stitches. I will continue this pattern of 2 single crochets worked into 1 stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 4 stitches all the way around. Round 6 will have a total of 36 single crochets. Once I've completed all 36 single crochets for round 6, I'm ready to begin round 7. Round 7 will begin like all of the other rounds and have an increase to start. So I will work 2 single crochets into that first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 5 stitches. I will continue working that sequence of 2 single crochets into 1 stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 5 stitches all the way around. Round 7 will have a total of 42 single crochets. Once I've completed all 42 stitches for round 7, I'm ready to begin round 8. For round 8, I begin by working 2 single crochets into that first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 6 stitches. I will continue the sequence of 2 single crochets worked into 1 stitch, or 1 increase, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next stitches all the way around. This round will have a total of 48 single crochets. Once I've completed round 8, I'm ready to begin round 9. For round 9, I'm going to work 2 single crochets into that first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 7 stitches. I'm going to continue this sequence of 2 single crochets worked into the first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 7 stitches all the way around. For this round, I will complete with a total of 54 single crochets. As you can see, once I complete round 9, this coaster is looking more like a hexagon than a circle. Round 10, or if I wasn't going to go all the way to round 10, or if I wanted to go bigger, whatever my final round is going to be is how I rectify this issue to create more of a circular design. So for round 10, I do need a total of 60 stitches, and basically I'm going to have a sequence of 10 single crochets repeated 6 times, holding 1 increase somewhere in that sequence of 10. So to make it easy, what I usually do is I'll do 4 single crochets first, followed by my increase, or my 2 single crochets worked into the same stitch, and then 4 single crochets worked into each stitch regularly. So I'll show you that sequence that we're going to be doing again. It's basically 1 single crochet worked into the first 4 stitches, or each of the first 4 stitches, followed by my increase, my 2 single crochets worked into the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet worked into each of the next 4 stitches. So I'll continue that pattern of 4 single crochets followed by 1 increase or 2 single crochets worked into the same stitch, and then ending with that 4 regular single crochets again. And I'll complete that sequence all the way around, totaling in 60 stitches to complete round 10. Once I complete round 10, you can really see how that kind of started to fix that hexagon shape we were getting. If I was making a much bigger project, it would make more sense for me to offset that increase more often, but since this is such a small project, it's okay to save it just for that last round. It will fix it. Now, so that was my last round of increases, but to really create a nice pop of definition on my coasters, I like to really do a final round of slip stitches, just in each stitch around. So if you've never done a slip stitch before, it's very easy. You just pull through. So you insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. Insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through all the stitches. So I will be working those slip stitches all the way around. I'll meet you guys there. This is a total of 60 slip stitches. We are not doing any increases. Once I work my way all the way around with slip stitches, I do like to do one extra, just kind of pulled through that first slip stitch to really secure everything. Once I've done that, I will cut my end and finish off my work by just pulling it through. Now my yarn needle will come in handy by allowing me to easily hide this tail. The way I like to hide the tail is by going into the next stitch and just pulling that yarn through one more time to really get that all the way kind of hidden from the front. And then I'll just come around the back and go through 4 stitches and a half. Then I'll loop one more time back around, skipping that first or the closest to me stitch that I pulled through, and then going through the rest. So it'll just kind of really lock in that tail. Pull it through, make sure it's not too tight, and I can snip that edge. And it's basically hidden. Lastly, with my magic ring, some people do like to weave this end in just to make sure that there's no chance of it coming undone. I'm not really one to do that. I just kind of cut it. This is not one of those things that's going to be really jostled around like a hat would be. So for me, I think just cutting it is fine. And there I have created a coaster. So when I make coasters, I make them each roughly 4-inch circles. Now today I used a 3mm crochet hook, but I don't always do that. If I have a thicker yarn, sometimes I'll use a slightly bigger hook, and then I'll just do less rounds, but keeping that same premise of the final round, offsetting that increase so it fixes my circle. Like this one, it looks like I only had to do 7 rounds. It's a little bit chunkier versus this one where I had to get the 10 in there to really get it up to almost the same size. I love creating coasters for craft fairs because it's such an easy way to use up those little bits of yarn that you have left over and being able to sell them. So I'll show you how I like to package the coasters for the craft fairs. So I like to package my coasters in sets of 4. Sometimes I make them all the same color, or sometimes I'll use the same yarn in different colors to create beautiful contrasting sets as a little variety pack. The reason I like to do them in sets of 4 is just because I feel like when you sell them individually, they don't have as much value, versus when you pack them in a set of 4, it looks like you're getting kind of the same quality of something you would get at the store. So first I stack up my 4 coasters in a way that's nice and neat, that the sides are almost all lined up perfectly. But since it's a handmade item, I always notice that some of mine are slightly bigger or slightly smaller, even though I use the exact same pattern to make it. It's just that everything's a little bit unique. Once I've gotten them all stacked up, I will start by, usually from the front I'll go first. I'll take a yarn needle with some yarn. I usually like to do this the same color as the coasters, but just so you guys can see what I'm doing it in a slightly different green. So I'll pull that through all 4 coasters, and then I'll come over here, find another hole, and pull through all 4 coasters again. Now I'll lose the needle, and I'll simply tie a little bow. Now if you know how to do some real fancy stuff, that could be a nice upsell that you do. I'm just going to tie it like I'm tying my shoes. Once I've made that bow, I will tighten it up and make it basically as small as I can, just so it'll nicely be hidden under the label. Once I get it to a size that I'm happy with, I'll use my scissors and cut those little tails. I'll then print and cut out my tag to my desired size, and I'll just wrap it around the coaster in a way that's not too tight, but not so loose that it's just going to fall right off. One fun little trick that I do with this tag, I always like to snip the end so it looks like it never really ends on the back. It's a nice smooth connection. So once I've gotten my coaster to basically the perfect fit inside my tag, I just use a piece of clear tape to secure the whole thing together. Now if you're feeling really fancy and professional at your events, you could put a small sticker on the back here instead of the tape to kind of describe the materials that you used or give a little bit of wash instruction. I just find that this is enough for me. And then when I lay all these coasters out in a beautiful basket, people can flip through them, but everything's nice and neat and they're not going to ruin my display. Thank you so much for watching. Again, the link for these tags is in the description box down below. And if you have an idea on something else you'd like me to make a tag for, or if you have any questions, drop a comment down below.